Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit podcast. On today's show, we have a little bit of a Syndicate Crown debrief. One of the things that's fun when I'm coming off a competition is just some sort of coaching things that are front of mind and being able to chop it up with Hunter about things from that side of the fence. There aren't a lot of people that speak our language, so that's usually a fun part of the debrief. Before we get to that, a little bit of housekeeping for new listeners, new customers. We have a new bundle on both Strivey and Fitter, where you get our GPP hatchet, which is for open and semifinals hopefuls, and masters programs all in one, something that people have been asking for a while. That is available now. So go check that out. Yeah, I think that's about it. Sharpentheaxeco.com. Any of the shirts you saw us wearing this weekend on any of the videos, shirts and hoodies are live at sharpentheaxeco.com. And then if you like a little bargain bin hunting, it brings me back to my childhood, having to stand in Marshalls while my mom looked at every shirt, laying down underneath the racks, thinking I was going to die of boredom. We got a bunch of old stuff on there as well. That's marked way down. All right, gentlemen, life chat. What's up?
What's up?
I like Marshalls.
Did you like it as a
Marshall,
kid?
it was kind of it was a weird place as a kid. It
Yeah.
was like,
It could be fun for like trying to make your parents scared that they can't find you because you're running through the aisles is fun. And then like
sure.
maybe there's one discount toy. But if we're going to do like 2 or 3 stores, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
I
no,
still
it
get that
didn't, it did,
feeling. I have like negative nostalgia.
yeah, it's not one of those places I remember thinking like, this place has like good toys. And that sounds
Yeah.
probably a little first class or first world problem sort of deal. Like, these toys here aren't nearly as good as like
I was poor
MVP
back then and they
sports
sucked.
toys.
So it's not.
Yeah, so it's like toys, like not great toys, but man, as an adult, they got Marshalls attached to the home goods. Like do a little
Ooh.
perusing for some nice
Mm-hmm.
linens and
Yep.
perhaps some discounted Nike socks, and we're in business. And
I'm more of a
yeah,
Sierra guy. You guys ever
What
been
is
to
that?
Sierra? It's in the same family as
yeah, we
Marshalls.
we have one. It's over by Target,
Never even heard of this
Drew.
shit.
It's like
Yeah,
I
it's like
feel it's a little bit of an upscale version of Marshalls.
I felt like it's like, don't they have a lot of outdoor shit?
Yeah, they got good Carhartt stuff there for a good price.
Yeah, like when I walked in there the first time, it looked to me like it was like the Marshall's equivalent, like of REI. It was like
Yeah, that's what it
it was
is.
I
like
could get into
Sierra.
that.
Yeah, it's
That
like
sounds
Sierra is
more
the
more up my alley.
yeah. Um, yeah. In actual life chat, got the new flat stick, got the new putter, rolling the rock really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
big improvement over the
Placebo
other one.
or
Initially, at least a healthy dose of both. I like it, but just
give me
a
some putter
lot
talk. What the fuck? It's
more
literally like
confidence.
could you take a mini golf putter out there and do the same thing? Like why is a putter
No,
better than
so
the
like
other?
the what I was using was like a blade. So it's like kind of what you think of as a traditional putter. It's like when you look down on it, it's like a narrow like rectangle almost. I now
Yep.
have a mallet putter, which has like the
Fuck yeah,
larger.
dude.
It's like what Rory, Scotty, Scheffler use, so it's
Okay.
a little bit
I
bigger.
mean,
Uh, I
I
mean,
mean, listen.
yeah, it's more and the way that it's balanced. Like if you held the putter like by the shaft like this,
Hey,
the
take it easy.
face would stay
Kid show.
upright. So it wouldn't yeah, there you go. It would not hang. So it's basically what you call it's face balanced. So it basically just helps the putter stay like
It's more of
more
like a
stable and
pendulum effect.
square through the yeah. And it's for like,
Which
if
putter is
you're
it?
if
Let's get eyes on this thing.
I type in Jailbird Mini, Odyssey Jailbird Mini. It's got a dope fucking head cover too. It's got a gnarly looking like eagle on that thing. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, click that first one there, Seb. Everybody's riveted here. Yeah,
I'm riveted
sweet,
by Hunter's
sweet head
$300
cover,
putter.
sweet head cover. Well, fortunately, it was not that much. We got the old shop credit at None
Oh
Such
boy.
to
All right. All right.
subsidize that. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, we'll take it.
got to spend money to make money, as they say. So, I mean, look at
That's
that
very
fucking
true.
dope head cover. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the head
Yep.
cover is probably the highlight.
It's probably the
Yeah, for
coolest
sure.
part.
Yeah. Um.
So
Yeah.
it's rolling
So
well.
rolling the flat stick really well. Yeah, we like it. It's
Yep.
gonna shave a couple strokes off the putting game, while I subsequently work on some swing changes that will definitely add strokes to the game. So
Yep.
all is
How many steps back to go forward? We talking? What's the trade-off here?
yeah. I don't know,
It's
man.
like we
That's a
teach someone to row well and they're like at like a 205 and
I've
they're like,
thought, yeah,
this
man,
sucks,
I've
not
tried
doing
to
it.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like if you could learn to get into the power position in your Olympic lifts, you'd add 20 pounds. The problem is it's going to take you like 1,000 reps of practice and
Yeah.
then like implementation, and you're like, but I could just keep doing it this way. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm a recreational golfer trying to shoot low, but I also I think there's something to be said about having a golf swing that looks nice. That I'm a little bit of a aesthetic snob as far as that goes. I don't like
I like
even
when
for a
the
weekend warrior, like I like the idea that the golf swing looks nice. I would like for it to produce results, but
well, like when it looks nice, there's an implication of how smooth it is. And if you're
yeah,
smooth when you're swinging, you're being a little bit more athletic, a little bit more repeatable. Like all
yeah.
those
It's
lifters that
very
we were obsessed with back in the day lifted exactly the same.
yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about the reason that people who swing the golf club the best in the world have strong similarities across the board. But
You ever golf with someone that sucks that does the pro follow through like an hour after their actual swing? I hate
just
that.
hangs on to it.
They
Yeah.
do the like they have to get the club way up perpendicular or parallel with the
Yeah.
ground.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like you had to lift your club to that position after you golfed.
Yeah.
Like is someone taking like long range photos of you and you got to look like you know what you're doing?
Yeah,
I hate that. You
that
fucking
ball was
stop it
never
with
at
that
any
follow
point
through.
on the target line. Like put your fucking
No.
club down and go find that bitch
No.
out of the woods.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are in yeah, for all the CrossFitters out there, when a coach tells you to take a couple steps back in order to take a few steps forward, I am currently in that phase, just with golf instead of a barbell. So it's a pain in the ass, but we'll I'll keep everybody updated since I know you guys are very curious about it.
But yeah. There's a few.
Seb's,
There's at least one
yeah,
person.
halves
Yeah.
of dozens of people
Yep.
who are
Seb,
skipping
what do you got
straight
going
through
on?
this segment of the podcast.
I don't know, man. I was with you all weekend. I feel like I
True.
got home
Well,
like
tell Hunter.
11,
Tell the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11
What's
last
going
night.
on?
Yeah, no, we got to be in Knoxville at the Syndicate Crown and just got to do cool media stuff for the squad there. And yeah, I thought they did pretty well. I don't know much about coaching, but there seemed to be improvement with like Be True. I didn't really get a chance to talk to Lindsay, but I don't know. I just like being able to follow them throughout the weekend and just kind of document what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, I got like so incredibly lucky with travel, which feels like not a thing,
Congratulations.
right?
I mean, it has
So,
been like 15 years, so you were bound to get it right. Get
so
lucky one
the
time.
right the Misfits. We'll have Erica on soon. You guys will get to know her. She's a quirky young lady, and the night before she was leaving, she couldn't find her confirmation number to input into the app to get like she's like, do I even have a flight? And I was
Boy.
this is a little like karma here. I was kind of making fun of her a little bit and like, Seb, do you like are you gonna help her? Like, does she actually have a flight? And she did have a flight and she was fine. So I'm FaceTiming with Maya and Carter Monday morning And she's like, send me your flight info. So I log into Delta and it says 9 hours until check-in. And I was like, this is weird. I look at the top. It says Tuesday, June 3rd, 6:20 p.m. And I was like, fuck. I booked the flight for the wrong day. So I'm like, here we go. Like, I just, especially ever since having a kid, like, at that point, I want to go home. Like, I want to get out of there. And the idea of hanging out in Knoxville for a day and a half, I wasn't into it. I'd
You
had
sure?
my
It's
fix
gotta be
of
pretty exciting
fucking
over there.
DoorDash and hanging out. So the exact same flight, no differences, was available. Took like 2 seconds to change it. But then none of my stuff would populate. So like I had a boarding pass, but it wouldn't tell me the gate, when it was boarding, or what my seat was. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, when you do a change this late, they just give you a seat assignment, just as what it is. So I didn't get to choose any of my seats. And like, I travel enough that my status is high enough that I can like upgrade for free and stuff. So I was like, fuck. Like I had all my seats ready to go, good to go. Both times, scan my ticket, first class ticket pops out. I got
Nice.
first class on both flights because there were no other seats.
Fuck. Nice.
Uh-huh.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
turn of events.
And like I'm not that impressed by it, to be honest. I don't understand the cost of it for what it is. Like it's fine. I've been on long flights before where it's like, okay, like them actually asking you if you want water 52 times is nice. Shit like that. Basically everyone is drunk in first class, which is hilarious to watch. Can be a little scary. One good thing last night. This kid had a tripod he had like strapped it to the side with the straps of his backpack, and one of the legs of it had come out, and like he was walking by a woman and
Did it
I
trip
don't
him?
think it
Did
hit her.
trip him?
She grabbed it
Oh.
and was like, hey, your thing, which I thought she was being nice. And then he was like, oh, thank you. And he turns around and she goes, you need to be more careful with that. And he goes, it's going to be all right, lady. It's going to be all right. And then he just walked off and I was like, yes.
How
It
old
was a
was the
very
kid?
like Karen moment. She was irate.
Nice.
She was like, you can't say that to me. So I enjoyed that very much. That was a fucking good time. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta imagine
But yeah,
first
I
class.
got
The
lucky.
perks there
Like
are. It's just
landed,
better with
yeah,
a
the first
longer
class
flight.
thing is, yeah, it's not like obviously the lay down would be nice, but every time I check that, it's like 8
86
mortgage
grand.
payments. You're like, no, dude, why? I don't get it. I'd have to be really, really, really rich. Because even if I had the money to do it, I'd be like, what, $7 grand to
got-
get on an airplane?
We
What?
got super lucky when I was coming back from deployment in Australia. They flew us. They were commercial aircraft. We weren't on like we weren't with civilians, but like these massive aircrafts, and the officers and senior staff got the lay flat first class seats, and it was like,
That's
yeah, we're
dope.
talking like 15, 16-hour flight, and it was like lay down, go to sleep for 5 hours, wake up, get the food that they bring you, lay down, go to sleep for 5 hours, wake up, get the food. We like left Australia. It was like, you wake up at 3, 4 in the morning, whatever, but landed in California, I guess, would that be the following day, but at like 5 in the afternoon. So it felt just like you woke up at 5, you flew at 5, you landed at 5. It felt like just a full day of travel, even though the calendar was a day to the right, but zero jet lag. Those lay flat
Yep.
seats were the fucking tits. It was so
Yep.
nice.
Yeah. They're crazy on the like real airlines that are still owned by the government in all those other countries. Like when
Yeah.
we got on the flight to go to Dubai, there was a staircase up to a bar.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't
There were
have that.
people standing
but
there having like cocktail hour. I was like, what is happening? And then you see all the athletes that like end up taking those jobs over in Dubai when they come over to competitions. They have like their own room on the airplane. You're like, what is this? That's good shit. All right. So Syndicate Crown. We Seb and I were there Wednesday through Monday. We've got obviously, if you live under a rock, you can go to our Instagram, some really cool photos of all the athletes. And one of the things that I talked to Seb about a little bit that I like is just every single person that's there, whether they're trying to qualify for the games or got a last minute invite, works their ass off. So to be able to provide media coverage for people like that, it means a lot. It helps tell their story. I don't think there's a lot of companies that do that. So that was something that was pretty cool about it. And Seb, what do you think on YouTube next week for the full video? This week,
Friday.
next week? Friday. All right, sweet. Yeah. So we got a good video coming your way. We've got content from basically everybody, but for the most part, it kind of follows Erica's journey. We really wanted you guys the Misfits to kind of get to know her a little bit. And as usual, just a really well-run competition. No like major complaints about anything. The athletes, when they don't have a big story to tell about, an issue with athlete control, an issue with like, oh my God, my heat times are off, this didn't happen, I had like a crappy judge or anything like that. There just really wasn't that much conversation like that over the course of the weekend. And that's, I think, a nod to just a really well-run competition. And then I kind of stand behind, we did the whole programming preview episode, but the programming was really good. And what we thought was going to happen over the course of the weekend did. When you have 10 to 12 girls that have a legitimate shot at qualifying for the games at one competition, you see a lot of leaderboard changes. You go from Isabel to a 25-minute workout to 2 miles of running, and then back-to-back high skill workouts, and then kind of a power output thing. You can see how the leaderboard would just be kind of topsy-turvy. And aside from Brooke Wells was basically first place the whole time. It was kind of the rest of the field after her. And that's such a good thing, because it makes the little details and the execution pieces of the workouts so important. The way that you strategize, when there isn't as much parity, you can get away with like not doing as well in a workout, but essentially not being helped by anybody else, or like how many people are going to be in between your score and somebody else's score. And I know that a lot of people would have wanted to see some of the other athletes that were there last year, but I think for the entertainment value and the stories over the course of the weekend, people watching that were, rooting for any of those, top 10 to 12 girls, I think it's just a good thing for the sport to have that. It sucks when you watch professional sports and it's like David versus Goliath all the time. And sometimes leagues are that way and sometimes they aren't. So it's just really cool to see. And then we got the news that Tia Toomey is a has-been. She had one second place finish. She only had 597 out of 600 points. So she's obviously cooked. She had a 2-week peaking schedule off of High Rocks. Just fucking.
Did she officially retire or not?
No.
Looked like I read something in Morning Chalk Up that was just like very wishy-washy. It's like, are we gonna?
It was wishy-washy, and it was like, is she saying goodbye to Torian specifically? Is she saying she's going back there? Because she could have done Syndicate,
right,
if she wanted to. I don't know. I don't think it's easy for. One thing that's fun about the whole Froning versus Fraser thing is if you do open it up to anyone, that is the best CrossFitter.
Tia is by far more dominant than both of them. Yeah.
That's the GOAT. And I know that normally doesn't enter the conversation, but it's kind of funny to say. Especially when we've had instances of workouts that were either literal 1-to-1, exactly the same, and she torches most of the guys, or they're just so close in, how much weight they put in the ruck or whatever, that it's basically the exact same workout. That's the kind of shit that you love to see. It's really fucking cool.
Yep.
How was it from the media perspective, Seb?
I'm able to be fully honest, or
Yeah,
I'm
fuck yeah.
I'm burning
Of
my
course.
bridges, not anybody else's. Dude, it was I mean, I really love Syndicate Crown. I think it's a great venue and it's run really smoothly. It's really cool. There was like 12 media people there. I mean, I know there wasn't big names, but there was still like maybe 20% of the media room was taken.
That's weird.
Super strange. Like,
Because all of the major programming companies had multiple athletes there. It wasn't
yeah,
like, this company and this company and this company didn't have their people. They all did. They were all back there.
but it was just like compare, and I know it was different. Last year was a bigger, like the actual competition floor was bigger and whatever. But I don't know. It was just a weird feeling. Even like Vendor Village compared to last year was like very small.
Yeah, that was weird. It's like
So that was
basically
the
no vendor village.
yeah. So I guess it's just is one of those things that because I saw it from a different point of view last year, I'm kind of comparing it, and maybe that's not fair to it. But yeah, it was a little bit eerie, but I don't know. I really enjoy Syndicate Crown, and it was a really really great weekend for
What
us.
did you
So
think of the half floor?
really cool from a media perspective because that's why we got all those crispy shots of everybody. Like regardless
Yeah.
of where they were competing, like whether it was like in the middle lane on the floor or lane 1 or 10, like you can get there. That was great, and I also love about them is like you can go shoot up in the stands and no one's gonna yell at you.
I thought
You know,
Oh, I
like
thought you meant
when we
like
first
shoot
got
up,
there, it
like
was
take
weird.
drugs in the stands and nobody will
no,
notice.
like
There's so
no,
much
like
room.
in the running event, like there's a by the starting line by the rig, like you can stand directly over the athlete and get some good like starting line shots. Like I don't know, I think that stuff's cool because most competitions like we can't do that. You know, like the
Right.
rig is
Yeah.
like you're off limits. Don't even think about it.
Is there
It
anybody
was awesome.
from HQ there? Like, does Castro make an appearance?
No,
Boz? Like
They
anybody
normally
like
do,
that?
but
they weren't
no.
there.
I'm trying to think.
Have
The
you
only
seen
people
them
that I
at
can
any
think
of the
of that would
events
be
that you guys have been
connected.
Mayhem
to?
Classic.
They were at
Yeah.
Castro
Mayhem,
was at Classic.
of
Yep.
course.
I think I saw Boz there too. Um, the only people that you would see, Hunter, that you would know are the same old athlete control and like head judges and stuff,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
sort of
and
thing.
HQ usually will send like one video guy and one photo guy, and neither were there.
I guess I meant more someone like a Carswell or a
Nope.
Dave or Boz or
Nada.
even Don. So I mean,
Nope. No. No, I don't think Don's coming to any more events, if I had to guess. If I had to guess. I think they're in fucking sales mode. Yeah, so
I
Hunter,
didn't.
for context, they basically pushed. One thing that's really cool about Syndicate is they have a coaches, friends, and family section at the finish line. So every athlete gets a lanyard and they can give it to whoever they want, and
yeah,
they
you were mentioning
can
that.
come down and sit in those seats, and then the coaches get to sit in those seats. So you basically can just run out, find the lane and be right there, which is awesome. But
Yeah.
they pushed those halfway across the floor, and then the actual competition floor was half the size. And
So you're right on
because of
top of
the
them.
amount of people that were there, it very much made it feel like a true sporting event. Like I think
Nice.
in those big arenas sometimes when they don't have like you're not going to get 10,000 people to come to something like that. Like
Yeah.
so pushing everybody into that space I thought was a really good idea. It was weird at first. We all walked in and we were like, "Whoa, what is this?" But I think it was really smart. I think it ended up being a
How
really
was
good idea.
overall attendance? Turned on the feed a few times. Didn't look
It was
massive.
so-so. I mean, it was
Yeah.
literally coaches, friends, and family, I would say. I don't know how many like fans were there,
Hmm.
to be perfectly honest. But again, because they crammed everybody into a smaller section, when the like battles were going on, it was just better from like a spectator experience, that kind of thing. And then on the men's side, Hunter, the
Ben
winner won
Smith
by
wins all the short events. Can't compete in the long one.
the
That's what he's
Sad.
talking about, Hunter. Here's the stands for coaches
last
and
year they were all the
family.
way at the end
Got
on
it.
the
Yeah,
other
so
Yeah.
side.
that's
Um, The winner won by 3 points, so one place, and then second and third tied.
Oh, Luke.
Yeah. And you're literally watching. So he was retiring anyways, I guess. That was going to be his last competition.
Damn, third, fourth. Just that one first place finish.
Yeah, Jack got him because of the first place and Isabel, right?
Yep.
Yep.
First and a second was his best, and then Luke had a
And then Ty
fourth.
Jenkins is
That's
infamous for
heartbreaking.
finishing the lunge workout with his foot on the line. So they're like, would that have cost him one spot? So would it have been a 3-way tie? That's how
Ooh,
tight that was. It was
doesn't
cool
look like
too
that would
because
have changed anything though, because they
going
both of
into
them have a
Sunday
first.
morning, there were 4 points separating 4 people total.
Yeah,
So
that's a
like it was
tight
jammed
men's
together.
leaderboard.
Yeah. And the women's honestly was similar from second down. Like there was a lot of changes over the course of that for sure. And going back to the execution thing, those 2 higher skill workouts, the rope climb workout and the handstand ramp workout, like when you're in those positions, you have to take chances. There's no point in going out there and like just not being able. So like there were a lot of moments where you could tell that like especially in the rope climb one, there were people who were seconds away from like imploding that had gotten way out to like a big lead at the beginning, which was interesting. And then the same thing on the handstand walk workout, seeing the girls that like were like, well, if I want a chance of qualifying for the games, I have to kick up now, but I'm probably not ready. Like that kind of thing. That was pretty cool to see, for sure. Did you see any of the live stream, Hunter? Any of the events?
I was turned it on briefly in the when the women were going through regionals revenge. A lot
So you
of
saw Erica murder everybody in that workout?
dude, that's crazy. I don't know what's actually crazier. I mean, to give her props, like for annihilating that workout, like taking a first place finish is huge. What's crazier to me is Kyle's the one who told me that she was like, yeah, Erica crushed Heavy Isabel in 4.5 minutes, which was faster than her online semifinals or testing time, um, and took ninth. And I was like, who the fuck are there 8 other women who are just blasting that workout? And he was like, yeah,
They've done it
whoever
like
won
10
was like,
times now.
yeah, it's like the winner is like 3.5 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, we'll wait for the yoke. We'll see what 8x400 does for that person. But like just to see some of those times and knowing how competent Erica is with a barbell is fucking
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, that was one where it was like 2 decisions away from like a top 5 too for her.
Yeah.
Because we switched, she did all power basically online, and we went the 6 and the 3 to finish were squat in this, just because like her accuracy at that point is much higher.
Which one did she, was it the last couple that she had a miss on? Or
She had a
the,
miss on the final 3. And what's funny is she's had a miss. She's done that workout 4 times now. She's had 1 miss every time, and they've all come in weird places.
yep.
But like one of the things I said to her that like we're very much like we'll get into this. We are very much working on the mental side and workout execution. Like if you watched her workout this weekend, it's very clear what her physical capacity is. Like
Hmm.
like her time in training for regionals revenge was 22:20, which still would have beat everybody, and it was very bad execution. Like she was resting on her burpees. She would do burpees and then just be like, I normally like burpees. Why are these so hard? Why does this suck so
Damn,
bad?
that's crazy. A full minute and a half ahead of Brooke, second
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Brooke tried a few times to catch her. And then when Erica moved her barbell up the final time, Brooke just stood there. She was like, nah, no one's
Did we
catching
see
me and I'm not
any
catching her.
exceptionally poor strategies in that workout? Anybody win the assault bike race that was not supposed to? Echo or the echo bike race?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yes. 100%. Like one thing
What
that was hat
maybe
tip
broader
to
question.
yeah,
What percentage of the field would you say, let's say the top half of the field.
top
No, we'll say the
20.
whole thing. Top
Yeah,
20. What percentage of the top 20 did do you estimate does not know how to strategize that workout? Half of them?
14
More
of
than
20.
14 of 20 do not know how to strategize that workout and they just kind of hang on their fitness to get through it versus
Here's
like
here's some insight into conversations that I either hear or have with people. Coaches, if you are the only one that has say in your athlete's strategy, if you are making up a strategy based on, okay, this is the workout and every athlete should execute this way, or you're positive that your athlete should execute in a certain way, and you haven't done testing and you haven't pushed them for input, I think there's going to be problems. Not only because you're not personalizing the strategy, but also because you're not taking into account, like when you put expectations on an athlete in that way, that develops more of a fear response, more of the flight response than the fight response, like
has
that
no
kind of thing.
ownership from the athlete.
Yeah. So, and that's the funny thing is that's really hard for Erica. She's like, if you tell me exactly what to do in a workout, I will do it. And it happened a few times during like the open and online semifinals where she had like a top 5 score in the world. And I was like, whoa. It's like she's like a robot. I'm like, okay, do this, this, and this. And she's like, okay, that sounds good. But when you have these
Hold
like
on a second. Win the CrossFit games.
yeah,
All right.
you're right,
Okay.
yes. Like when you have ones either that are more complicated or you have time to do testing, I'm throwing them to the wolves. I'm like, I want a video. I will give you general guidelines. Let's essentially go fuck this up without expectations, and then we'll come look at it. And she sent me Regionals Revenge, and it said 22:20, and I was like, holy shit, like that's fast. Like
Yeah,
a lot of girls were basically taking about 6 minutes per section on
sure.
average. So
Yeah.
22:20, and then I watched the video, and the burpees were I'd never seen her burpee like that before. Like so, um, I was like, damn, I think this could be a W. What I didn't know was that she was going to be literally be able to, like, we talked about the burpees being like you're shutting your brain off, and we're going to talk about your footwork and the way that you're going to drop down, and you're going to do it 100 times in a row and not really think. And then in testing, she was 3 or 4 sets on the barbell, and I was like 13, 12. And then she wrote she wrote down all of it on her arm, by the way. So her arm said 63 to 64 RPMs, 15, 10, 10, 8, 8. Like it said all of them. And then on the last one, it said 13, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, die. I was like, she's writing exactly what I'm saying to her. Um,
Love that.
so yeah, I think that can be a little bit of an issue with some of the coach athlete relationships. And sometimes you don't have an opportunity to test and your athlete in the moment really just wants advice, and I get that. Like you need to be there to give them a good strategy when it's, say you're at the games and they have 30 minutes after the announcement, but in those moments you just get enough information during the testing that you can sort of put that stuff together. Um, but yeah, that was one of the most dominating performances I've ever coached, for sure.
That's awesome. Where then, well, to just be blunt, to ask the question, what happened on Metal March and Athletes Only? It's like she bracketed, right, like a short powerful workout with a long muscle overload piece, and to like put bookends on either end of that in a pretty, like a ninth and a first going into the next day, and what I think
Yeah,
third is what we said. Like, is that a recovery thing? Like, there's a midline
no,
component to that? Is it a strategy thing that neither of those are so long that there's like a massive strategy component? Where would you say is the like area to improve in those two?
so this is my question to you for the like post topic, but we'll talk about it a little bit right now. Executing on a stage 6 times in a row requires a level of focus, a level of, what do you want to call it, mental fortitude, a level of confidence, sort of
Yep.
believing in yourself. And I would say the double under rope climb lunge was the hardest one for her execution wise. She got out there and the ropes they weighed significantly less than the ones that you typically have in a gym. So a lot of athletes they were like, when you did your first pull, they were flopping, they were moving so easily that athletes were having a really tough time locking their feet in. So she was like, they felt significantly different.
Climbing. Okay,
And
climbing rope. Sorry, I thought you meant.
climbing the rope. No, the double unders didn't seem to be a huge part of it for the elite. Like they were a
Yep.
problem and heats 1 and 2 for a few people. But the climbing rope. So like once that started to be an issue, which she actually in training and in the warm up area just like really had a like just excellent technique. We didn't see any issues like that coming, and we had worked on fixing the lunges, which she did. But once it started to be a problem out there on the floor, you could tell that it was like, oh shit, here we go again, was like
Yeah.
potentially the mentality. And then from there, the biggest hurdle is like, can you rebound after that workout? And then, Seb, do you want to show Hunter? Do you have the clip? The clip? So warm up area, box jump overs, lunge or GHD sit ups, flying over the ramp in both directions, no issues. Like probably the best I've seen her go over the ramp. And then Seb's going to show you her first trip over the ramp. Seb,
How
you're
was
muted.
while he's pulling that up, was there like so I guess so you come out of day one with a first place finish, confidence super high. You go into day two, take 15th, not 14th rather, not
You know what's funny
bad.
is that was fourth place in the top heat. So
Mm,
like part of her like, hey, stay with the second pack and then try to pass them. Like
I mean that
they
that
were
workout's
just way
got
slower.
that workout's got probably the most, I guess I don't know the most, but like you see a lot of like the top three, like sixth place in that workout is 24th overall. Third place in that workout was 30th overall. Seventh place is 33rd overall. So very much a
Right.
like,
Yeah. She moved
potential
up
like
too. She moved into second place after that workout. She was in third to end
that's
day one and then
crazy.
moved into second
That's so weird.
after it was essentially a 14th. Because again, the
Yeah,
top of the leaderboard was based on 50% of it was based on Isabel. So like,
sure.
can you run and lift?
Of course.
Brooke was basically the one who could run and lift for the most part. Yeah.
All right, can you see? Can you hear me, Hunter?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
First trip
First trip
Yes, very
after
first one.
GHDs.
after GHDs. Brace yourself.
Ah, don't like that. Oh.
Look at her
Dude,
neck right here,
running
dude.
over
Look
the
at
ramp
this.
back and
Look at that.
forth in the warm up area.
Oh
That's a scorpion.
no, that is a full scorpion. Fuck, don't
I
like
thought she
that.
broke her
Okay,
neck right there.
yeah, that's
I
the
stopped
move.
shooting. I stopped shooting for a good minute. I couldn't look.
Hunter,
Did she get right up?
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Is she all right?
Yeah.
That's one of those ones that like
She
could
has a
be
red
like,
line on her head, which I'm pretty sure is from the rubber trying to yank her hair
yeah,
out.
like the friction. Eh.
Dude.
Oh,
And that's just, I think, frantic. Like you're
thanks for
going
the
down the
no rep
stairs
call,
and you're trying to
Judge.
be too fast. She
Yeah.
also came back, walked over, and then biffed the first box jump.
What's the judge's reaction when she sees what happens? It's priceless.
Started with a no rep call, ended with like, oh my
And then look at
God.
Lydia Fish. She almost took her out. That's Lydia trying to jump over her box. Yeah. Um,
Okay, so a little shaken up, presumably after that. Biff a box jump, not.
Yes.
She practiced this one. She get with at least a comparable setup. She have a ramp, stairs, like.
Oh yeah, she had the exact same
Okay.
setup at her gym. Did it in about like 9:20 or 9:30 in her gym, and that was with like taking her time on the ramp just because she wasn't sure what it was going to feel like.
Yeah.
My goal for her was like 8:30 to 8:45 roughly. We had I think either 3 or 4 misses on the ramp.
That'll do it.
And they weren't, none of them were, can I like save this? Can I balance? I'm tipping over, I'm tipping forward. They were all like, honestly, like the memes where Steve Buscemi shoots the gun from Billy Madison and snipes some. They were
Yeah.
just, there was a frantic nature to the movement.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Um,
is it like a shit I'm falling behind, rush a little bit, misstep a little bit. So that workout requires just so much more almost I don't want to say more focus than
yeah.
fitness, but like if you can do all
But
those
that's
things.
honestly, that's exactly what we talked about. I was like, none of this is going to be hard for you physically. You have to stay locked in mentally. Um, and then so that one was very much a like in the moment she rebounded and executed while this was happening, which is huge
Yeah.
for her. There are unfortunately, a lot of narratives out there about her from literally people watching her do one competition when she was
Mm,
23.
yeah.
So we're trying to rewrite that shit. We're trying to like be like, no, we get to write our own story essentially. Um, and then a huge one of the biggest moments of the whole weekend was so she fell out of the top heat going into the final. She was not happy about that, and she was at a crossroads of last year she was in 11th in the final and finished 17th. This year she went in 12th, finished 10th. So like she went out there and took a top 5 finish in the final. And again, like really good execution. We knew that we needed to slow down the row and do 2 sets on the bar muscle ups to be able to crush the sandbags a second time. Like, and again, that's where some of that stuff just seems silly to watch, where you see an athlete do a touch
I
and
fucking
go
told you.
or
I told
go
you that row
unbroken
was
on
gonna
a
be slow.
movement to then fall apart when they get back to the same. What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that again, is your strategy as a coach, are you strategizing with and for your athlete for the workout? Or are you like, I want my athlete to qualify so bad that I'm going to tell them the first place strategy. And if they do not execute on it, then they're probably going to get 5 to 10 places lower than they should.
Yeah.
And sometimes at the end, you fucking send it because you want to go and you would rather send it and come in ninth than not and come in fourth. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I definitely get that part. But my question for you is, and we can unpack this, but if the main focus, the main goal of an athlete is to execute on the floor that has the tools, what are they supposed to work on? Especially if they don't have a remote coach, if they don't have someone there. It's like, I don't understand why my testing scores are this, and then I get out on the floor and this happens. How do you learn how to execute? How do you learn how to not kick up with your hand on the line, to not like lunge onto the line, to not, you know, change the way that you move while you're out there? Like you're like what advice could you give somebody on how to learn how to execute? Because it's a special thing because a lot of the practice is in real time on the competition floor.
Yeah. That's a good question. That's tough. I mean, the first place that I would go to when I think about that is like this is a somewhat I don't know if it originated in the military, but it's the idea that you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. That when you're executing a plan, like you know no good plan survives first contact with the battlefield. Like the reason these like cliches exist, but it's like you have to like the odds that you're going to go out there and have a 100 both you are going to both have a 100% plan and be able to execute it exactly as written is basically zero, right? You have to go in with that kind of 70% plan, knowing that like very rarely do like, and I understand there's a difference between people who, we talk about it, kind of the gamer, the athlete who crushes it in training, but falls apart on the big stage, or vice versa, someone who just kind of mails it in training, or just doesn't who needs that competition in order to like bring the best out in them. I still think like ultimately at the end of the day, the floor at which you might have to execute at some point in a competition is representative by your training. And if it is like if it is a thing where it's like, well, I always, I handstand walk and I start with my hand on the line, or and I finish every set of lunges with my foot on the line, it's like those are like that, like those specific instances are just mental errors in my opinion, that like just need to be trained and practiced, and like this is not how like we do it. And whether that's tricking an athlete into moving the line like 3 feet further away in training or something like that, or or whatever it is, like if your hand touches the line, you as a coach, maybe you game it, you say if your hand ever touches the line, it's a no rep. But I think the overarching theme is like you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. So you have, I think that's why having high standards in training is important. I remember like a super long time ago, I heard I'm sure you probably remember this, like Chris Spieler talked about it in training, where he was like, I'm willing to accept like if I'm training, like I might not squat below parallel. Like I might have a handful of wall balls that are well above parallel. I might.
He's pushing adaptation.
He's pushing at it. He's pushing past threshold. He's exceeding his capacity there. But I think there are a lot of athletes who maybe toe that line too much and don't like. You have to remember, like there is a standard associated with these movements and the workouts for a reason, and like if you don't train that way often enough, then like when it comes to competition, you are going to resort to the actions and the behaviors that you are most used to, which is 98% of your time is spent in training. And if you're training that way, then like don't be surprised when your body just kind of defaults to execution that way. But I think that those are like more specific nuts and bolts. And then I think to answer like kind of another part of your question, it's like how many athletes are sitting down and looking at the workout and like actually cerebrally thinking about like, well, how long does this 80 calorie assault bike take? Like what do I know about myself and about the machine that says like, no, you're not going to do this in 4 minutes. Like it's ridiculous. Like you don't even, do you know what pace you're supposed to hold? Do you know what number you're going to look at on the monitor? And an athlete says, no, I just go by feel. It's like, okay, that works to a certain extent. And you need to have that intuition that, 3-4 minutes into the bike, you're like, whatever plan that I had, this is actually not going to execute. I need to have the flexibility to adjust on the fly. But the ability to adjust on the fly implies that you had a plan going into it to begin with that you can adjust from. And I asked you at the beginning, how many of the top 20 athletes you think like game the workout properly, and your assessment is like, well, less than half of them knew how to, and maybe they're just fit enough to like make that change on the fly. But I think like one of the most like probably one of the most frustrating thing, not frustrating things, one of the most I think one of the ways that an athlete's mind can be put at ease is to have a plan. It's like when you go into that workout and not have a plan, like there's no like you can let your fitness carry you through, but my argument would just be like, well, if your fitness can carry you through, how much better would you have finished if you also had a strategy to match your fitness? And it sounds like there aren't that many athletes who are thinking that way. And like, and you can make the argument that maybe that's not the athlete's job. There's the coach there, but like you're saying, and I agree that like that has to be a kind of a mutually agreed upon thing between the coach and the athlete as far as how we're going to strategize this based on, your strengths and weaknesses as an athlete, and like, well, the fact that we're going into day 2 of a 3-day competition, like how does your body feel after yesterday? Because even though you did those 2 workouts in training, you certainly didn't do them at the intensity that you just executed. Like, is the strategy that you had before still executable, or do we need to like make an adjustment? And putting an athlete's mind at ease with a strategy that like on paper they're confident in that they can execute, but also having the flexibility to say, but hey, like if you get 60 toes to bar into this workout and it's like we need to make an adjustment, like that's
Yeah.
okay, that's acceptable,
So
and you put the
that
athlete's mind at
moment,
ease there.
that specific moment in that workout was when I knew what was about to happen, because our plan, we had the first, it was 50, and then you moved up to the second bar and 50s. You kind of had to think about the strategy in that way. So the first 50 planned out, and then the second 50 was sets of 8 until you can't, and then descending sets. And when she started breaking them up more, the other girls that were keeping up with her, aside from 1 or 2, had their elbows on their knees when they came down from the pull-up bar. This is an insinuation that maybe it was the echo bike, or maybe it was, the Tota bar and the echo bike, you know what I mean? But at that point in the workout, if you feel that way, the workout hasn't even started yet. Those 2 movements are buy-in.
Yeah.
The second you flop down on the floor is when the workout starts. So I told her, I said, listen, 1 extra set, 1 set, 2 sets means nothing. And when she came down every
Fuck, a
time,
full minute. Like,
yeah, yeah. So that was where it really felt that way. And it's like, we're not going to trade getting off the toes to bar for not being able to crush the burpees. We will not do that. And you could tell, and if you don't have that plan, not only, again, could it be a problem because you're not executing properly, but then you could put yourself in that moment where coach said, I got to stick with 10s, and I'm fucking gassed, dude. My grip's going, my hip flexors are not there. And hey, turns out you got to push yourself off the ground and lift your hips up for 100 reps before 100 front
yeah.
squats. So that's definitely a part of it. Yeah. The execution piece for me is when you get back in the gym, you always have to identify what you're actually working on, right? Like, as coaches, every once in a while, you just get to work with an athlete who's like pretty damn well-rounded. And when they train, they get fitter. Like, some days they PR, some days they don't. Sometimes they need to deload just like everybody else. But like every year, it's like knocking a couple of seconds off this. These sets look smoother. Like, you get lucky sometimes with that. And when you know that, and you know that execution is what's like we're after, then it becomes coaches' notes that seem monotonous or silly, but like, we're going to set the cones up for the lunges. And if you stop between cones, you got to move it back. Here, we're actually going to tape lines on the ground and do that. We're going to no rep ourselves if we're doing sandbag cleans and you feel like you dropped it while you were still kind of moving around and not showing control. We're going to do sandbag cleans where you have to, on the 5th one, not forget that you don't drop it, but you're going to carry it to the next box and throw it on the ground. We're going to no rep ourselves on, handstand push-ups where we're floating on, just things like that. Because if you identify what you're working on and you focus on stuff like that, then like you can get after it. And of course you brought up the example of Spieler, and I know a lot of athletes who execute way too damn well. You know what I mean? They move
For
perfect
sure.
and they do
Yeah.
the sets that you ask them to. And it's like, yeah, we did the sets, but like, I
Did you pay
actually
attention to the
went,
field at all? Like,
I went out and went to the bathroom and came back, and you're still waiting to get that perfect set of 7 that, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's not actually going out there and executing. So you have to know which thing you're working on. And then this other piece of this is something that we we had some other athletes talk about at training camps back in the day, and we've adopted a little bit. But like, if you have like, no, that's my pull-up bar, that's my barbell, I don't use that rope, I use this rope, like the slippery rope, you know what I mean? I'm never using that one. This is legless and you're going to make me use that rope, that sort of thing. Like, these shoes don't feel quite right, I forgot my wristbands. Like, training, going out and training when it's not ideal, when it's hot out, you know, the first time you do muscle ups when you're sweaty and you like rip holes in your hands, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, those
Yeah,
summer
yeah.
muscle ups are real fun. Those things in training allow you to adapt in the moment while you're out there,
For
because the
sure.
equipment will be different, right? The ramps were very different. A lot of people bought the more affordable ones from Titan, I think the one that we have, and you have to like try to bolt that thing to the floor because it's gonna, like, you walk on it, it's gonna like
Yeah, it
walk
weighs
away.
like 4.5 pounds.
Right. These ones are heavy, and some athletes have ones that are a little squishier. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Some have some that are a little bit more firm, and it's like, get on different ramps, do different obstacles, go up over plates. You know what I mean? Fucking handstand walk backwards, left turns, right turns, 180s, 360s. Like, the skill of being upside down is broader than just, can I north and south go over the exact same ramp in these same conditions every single time. Doing a workout without chalk, like whatever it is, putting yourself in those positions, I think starts to give you a frame of mind for what it's like when, okay, we did have a plan, then I got punched in the face. Now what? Like, what am I going to do to be able to execute here?
Yeah. Or I think, and then I was gonna say the opposite is in like of that specific scenario is important too. It's like I had a plan. I've actually trained and like worked on, in training I've not perfected, but I've quote perfected the strategy component to it, the planning and the strategy, and then that affords you the ability to look around, because like once you get into competition, like we talk about it all the time, it's like it's not for time, it's to beat the people like to your left and to your right. It's like you're not competing against the clock anymore, you're competing against the people that are out there. And having trained the strategy component, having trained enough of your fitness to know like, okay, maybe I do have a little bit more in the tank to dig when it's necessary, right? It's
Yeah.
not in the 50 set, it's not in toes to bar 50 through 100. It's in the last 20 bar facing burpees and then going to the barbell, where it's like, okay, like I know what the strategy was, but I am within 3 or 4 reps of like 5 people, because I can like actually, while I'm competing, I can actually look to my left and to my right and like know, do I have something in the gas tank to try to find a couple of points, to try to get ahead of a couple people who aren't maybe paying close attention or whatever. And I think all of that comes through the preparation, the training, and like having practiced that ahead of time. That opens up your ability to kind of look around and see like, okay, do I need to pick up my pay? Is my strategy good enough to compete with the people that I'm against? Because yeah, doing 10 sets of 10 with 5 seconds of rest in between sounds like a great plan, but it's like, if that if you finish the toes to bar 3 minutes behind everybody else, like it wasn't a great plan. You have to have the adaptability there as
There's
well.
still 12 minutes of burpees and front squats. What a
Yeah,
fucked up thing to say.
it's like,
That's terrible.
um,
Yeah. Yeah, the
so
the piece of it that, only other thing that comes to mind is maybe the spectrum of damage control. I don't think a lot of athletes have the experience to know what can and should happen when it's damage control time. So the far left of this spectrum is the coach telling them, we're going out to survive.
yeah,
Like, we're going out to execute the shit out of 20th place. That's what we want to get. We want to
yeah,
get 20th, right? Because 20th is different than 30th, right? You get fucking more points for 20th. So if you're probably on most days 25th in that workout, but you're trying to get 10th, there's probably going to be an issue there. Then there's to move into it a little bit, there's the moment in the workout where your execution turns it into a damage control workout. Like realizing like I got to fucking hunker down because this went from I thought I was going to get 12th to like if I don't get my head on straight, it's going to be 40th. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you see it, you see the body language change, you see the maybe the run from the rope back to the kettlebells. It just becomes a little bit slower because it's like fucking really thought that this was going to be like a top 10 for me. This
Yeah, I'm
sucks kind of a thing.
frustrated. I'm already, I already know what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to know in those moments that you can refocus and essentially can you have a top 10 finish in the rest of the workout?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. Can you get to that point? So that's something that's incredibly important. And then there's the world of like, and this doesn't happen that often, but you know that you need to do like mediocre to hold your spot. That's a unique workout from a mental standpoint.
Sure.
Because I'll tell you right now, we don't play fucking prevent defense, right? We don't throw the safeties in the corners all the way back and let them, do X, Y, and Z. Athletes don't do well in those moments. Telling an
No.
athlete to go slow on a competition floor, things will get fucking weird for them. So what does it look like to develop a strategy that, let's say, that the absolute best you could do in a workout is 10 minutes, but if you get 12 minutes, you qualify, and if you get 14 minutes, you don't. Like, what kind of strategy do you have going out there? And that's when
Yeah.
you're having those questions of, okay, on the bar muscle ups, is it 2 or 3 sets? Sounds like 3 now, right? A
Yeah.
much better chance that I'm going to execute this properly with 3 sets of gymnastics going into this, that sort of thing. So there's a spectrum of knowing where you're at going into the workout from a bunch of different points of view, and then being able to adjust in the moment when you're out there, especially if you perceive a failed rep or people blowing by you to be like, I'm fucked.
I mean, in a lot of ways, the damage control is where like execution becomes even more important, right? Because it's like
Right.
you
Yeah.
hear that with other professional athletes all the time, and like just because golf is front of mind for me, like I've been reading and listening to like a lot of the coaches out there, and it's like a lot of coaches will never tell a golfer like, oh, just like ease up in your swing. It's like that's when things go wrong. It's like don't swing like softer than you normally would out of fear of a miss, because that's where like the miss
Rory's
comes
done
into
that
play
shit for
even
sure.
more. And in a similar vein, it's like when like don't allow one single error to become two. Like you hit a bad shot, you execute a part of a workout poorly, that doesn't mean the next decision you make needs to compensate for the bad decision, because odds are that is a second. Like, don't make a second. The worst thing you can do after one mistake is to compound it and make it a second poor mistake, instead of like refocusing, saying that didn't go the way that I wanted, but if I make a smart decision here, if I make a smart play here, I can still, maybe it's not 10th, but it's also not 35th. It's like, okay, I can salvage a little bit here, and being able to recognize that in the moment, instead of like, the body language changes and it's like, okay, well, I need to knock this next one out of the park. It's like, well, no, if maybe instead, like when things went wrong in that whatever the first workout was, instead of saying like, well, now the entire event is tanked, it's like, well, I could just adjust, recognize that maybe this isn't going to go as well as I hoped it would, but I can still make it better than it could be. And like you come out and it turns out like you only took, you left 10 points on the table as opposed to
Yeah.
25. And that's a difficult place to be as an athlete, where especially in the moment when things aren't going well, it's so difficult to like, with the clock running, with other people moving, to step back and say like, okay, like I can adjust the strategy, I can still salvage, a respectable score, time, effort, whatever it is. And like ultimately you don't know how it could have turned out otherwise, right? It's not like you can play both scenarios at the same time and see like, oh, if I had just, you know, put my head down and actually worked, then I would have, been 5 places higher than I actually would have. You don't know that, but you just have to know that like compounding one error, one strategic, mistake with another is guaranteed to be a worse outcome than like, okay, I made one mistake, let me adjust on the fly and like, okay, now this outcome is not what I wanted, but it's certainly better than it would have been if I just kind of like hung my head and mailed in the rest of the event or whatever the scenario happens to be.
Yeah, the I think of and I explain the sympathetic nervous system as a coin. Fight on one side, flight on the other side. And they're they're like, they're right there. They're the same thing. They're kissing cousins or whatever you want to call them like. And for me, my history with that is I playing baseball, like being on the pitcher's mound, and the result of most at bats when I was pitching were strikeout, walk, or hit by pitch. People didn't. I hit people just as much as they hit me, and those moments where the bases are low, you walk the bases loaded, and there's no outs. Like sometimes it's like, damn, like I'd pay good money to feel this alive, and other times it's like we were up 4 runs or something like that, and that could, if I don't get my shit together and I groove one down the middle and this goes into the gap, base is clear and it's 4-3, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And it was brutal in that sport because every single person stares at you for 8 out of 10 seconds.
Yep.
You're the only thing happening on the entire field in those moments. But I can just think back to the moments where it was like, okay, well, based on the fact that I either walk people or strike them out, I have a pretty good chance of striking this person out and not,
Yeah.
having to kind of deal with this shit. But that
Yeah. If those are the
mindset
only
of,
options.
yeah, if these are the only options, I'm fucking go with this one. Like, that sounds like a good idea. Sometimes I did walk them or hit them. But that just reminds me so much of that choice of being there. Like, and I think that's why I liked football more, because once you get the ball, there is like you fall to the level of your training where you want to say, but you don't really think about it. Like,
No, you're just
of course you're
executing.
like whatever reading a defense or whatever, but like you don't actually think about it. It was just you wait, boom, and then you go. Right? It's like this like huge thing. But yeah, that understanding that world and knowing, like, that's why I told all of our athletes for Isabel, like, this is the perfect event one. Like, event one and adrenaline, and if it's long, don't mix very well. Right? You really got to be seasoned. You really got to know what you're doing to go out and execute when you're coming off a taper, you're carb loading, your heart rate is just like your heart is like up here in your jaw
Yeah.
while you're standing in the corral, and then you got to go out there. But then it's 3, 2, 1, go, and you're doing snatch singles. Fuck yeah. Like, that's perfect. Like, that's the perfect one to have. But in the corral, in the moments as you're stepping up to it, is it like adrenaline's a hell of a drug, let's go lift some weights? Or is it like, fuck, 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 I'm here, it's
Right.
starting, it's going, it's happening, am I gonna be able to do this? And it's the exact same feeling from a biological, physiological standpoint. But again, it says fight or flight. And that is a very real thing. Like, you lean into the challenge or do you back away from the challenge? And for the people out there, I recommend leaning into it, because the flight version of it sucks. It doesn't feel good. Not a fun thing to experience. Well, we've been yapping for an hour and 10 minutes. I think after travel day, late night, that's what my brain is capable of giving out to the listeners. We have any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Fuck Amazon.
we demonetized. I'm gonna check our YouTube
Demonetized. Yeah.
earnings since Hunter
Uh,
started his
no,
Amazon campaign.
congrats to the Misfits. We didn't touch on Lindsay and Beetroot too much in this one, but
I'd like to get
yeah,
them. I'd like to get them on the show. I did more than I normally do. I don't like talking about the athletes without them here. It just feels weird and different. But we're about to release a YouTube video with a lot of the shit that I just said. With Erica actually sitting there with us. But it will be fun to catch up with them because there were some, like, I'm not as intimately like connected on a day-to-day basis with Lindsay, but there were some serious breakthroughs. And when you see someone train hard for a year or two or more, and then they go out there and feel like they belong, it's pretty fucking cool. So that's a little bit of a teaser for those episodes.
yeah, a couple of
All
killer
right, did we do it?
finishes. So
What's that?
yeah,
We did it. Cool. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Misfit podcast. You can head to link in bio and get signed up for our programming either on Strivey or Fitter, or you can head to teammisfit.com, click on the sign up now button, and get a 2-week free trial of our affiliate programming from Push Press, Sugar WOD, or StreamFit. See you next week.